oppose things and say, I don't want any censorship, but nobody is really up to going on the streets anymore, for example, or putting work into actively fighting a certain development in society. So I think we can have a next question as well.
Okay. So it's very interesting to see that we're now moving into embedded journalism in society as a whole. In wartime, we call it embedded journalism, when people only see the part of reality that is shown to them by the armed forces when they are in law. But actually, my question was regressing to what Annie said, because she said if we had only had WikiLeaks, I think the powerful thing of having a face with Annie and actually showing that she is not a fraud and she's actually fleeing her country and leaving her country and being hunted and people being put in prison and so on, it actually validates the leak. And as you said, rightfully so, people can actually make up really convincing tricks to take certain people out of the game. So I was curious what the idea of the people are, what the misinformation and agitprop type of thing, and WikiLeaks and whistleblowing, how this dynamic can be sort of maintained or handled.
Thank you. I think it was Daniel who said on the first day that you can always tell if a whistleblower has credibility behind them and how hard the authorities go for them. And they really went for Shayla and myself. I mean, you know, as you say, fleeing across Europe and things. In terms of what we can do about that, where we can take it, I think we do need... Well, I mean, if we can guarantee protection for whistleblowers, this is the difficult thing. I mean, I hear that WikiLeaks can, but if I were a whistleblower sitting in MI5 now and I'd witnessed torture, for example, and I wanted to blow the whistle on it, I would be incredibly frightened about where to go to and how to do it securely. And I think a community like this, for example, if they can really put together and publicise what they can do, then that might be very helpful indeed. Because I'm not sure how many people actually are really aware out in the greater world, so...
So I think what the question was getting at is when someone publishes something anonymously, and they're anonymous for their protection, which we facilitate them with, both legally and technically, that there's no face to the information and there's not the same emotional punch. Is that correct? Yes. Yeah. So, well, the answer is yes. We're not much help with that. But we can't expect every person, I wish they were. I mean, I wish every person in this room was an Annie or an Ellsberg or some of these other famous figures. But that's not going to happen. Maybe we can increase it a little by pushing a system where there's lots and lots of anonymous leaks coming out without any regulation at all. So we say either fix up the Freedom of Information Act, either provide protection for whistleblowers to come out with their face, or we will do it all without any legal oversight at all. But economically, there is not a niche in society for that many whistleblowers. Now, what do you do after you've blown the whistle? Well, some people can write books, some people can become professional activists, not making much money at all, but maybe just enough to live on. But there's actually not many roles in society. Maybe there's a couple in all of the United States with 300 million people. So I actually don't think there's a way to enable lots and lots of whistleblowers to come forward unless it's done in a legislative fashion, and there's got to be a driver for that legislative relief. There can be a bit of a press driver as well, or a community attitude. Even if there's not legislation, it damps down the police or authoritarian response to pull the action back down to community standards.
Can I just make one more point as well? There was a debate in the US about a month or two ago about exactly what protection intelligence whistleblowers should get in the States in the wake of the scandal around torture. And at the moment, they can go to the head of their agency, and then they can go to a congressional committee. And there were arguments, lots of debates about, well, should they have a little bit more protection? Because they are the people, the very people at the core of the state who are going to see the most heinous crimes if things go wrong. And yet, I believe that it was voted down. So there's no increased protection. But the arguments were interesting, that we need this ventilation for a healthy democracy, that we need this ventilation to stop groupthink within the agencies that leads to illegal wars and torture and Guantanamo Bay as well. So I think, the signs of a healthy democracy should be leaks. And if that can lead to a critical mass, whether or not people have to self-immolate by going public, and it is, a career-limiting move, should we call it? I used to say it was like being a Victorian fallen woman. Once you take the fatal step, there's no going back. So it is a big step, but having a forum where you can leak stuff without having to overturn your entire life is invaluable, I think. So thank you.
I have a comment and a question. My comment is, who can give me the guarantee that in 4 years we still have a government which has enough integrity to handle such a censorship system? Well, there's no such guarantee. That should be enough to stop building censorship systems. And my question is to the whole panel, all of them may answer it if they want. Is there a way of winning this war? You've seen the Spiegel. They are basically writing what people want to read. So if the Spiegel writes what people want to read, people want censorship. Is this war winnable? Or do we have to let it go boom and then say, we told you so?
Well, what I learned is that people tend not to be... Well, when they read something, they don't really think about what they're reading. So the information they have is the information they get. So, if the Spiegel writes censorship of child pornography websites is good, people believe that this is good, but the whole thing is not explained. People don't know what is behind that. And that's the problem. What we need to do is to explain what the system is, what is behind that, and what does that mean. Most of the people out there have no idea what is being installed right now. So it's easy for them to say, hey, that's cool. I'm against child pornography, and I think it's good that it's finally taken care of by the state.
How can't you be against child pornography? That's the thing.
But that's the point. Everyone that's fighting in Germany against that law is not saying child pornography is good.
But that's easily said in the media, so it's a good way to saying being against the censorship law is like equal to be pro child pornography. It's easy to say in the media. So you can zwart maken. Don't know the English word. Sorry.
Okay, well, in any way, the problem is that especially the topic of child pornography and censorship are really bad to compare. These are completely different issues. Child pornography is a society issue and censorship applies to ways of communication. So this is a completely different thing, and the problem is that these debates are being intermixed. And we fight on the wrong ground. We need to talk about censorship and focus about this and defend